Welcome to the Explainer. Today, our core mission is an absolute mindset shift. We are going to completely transform how you look at building wealth, taking you away from that emotional, stressful guessing game and moving you firmly into the realm of logical, disciplined wealth creation. Now, you already know the basics of mutual funds, but we really need to talk about why so many otherwise informed people still manage to trip themselves up. Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever wondered how, despite every single finance app highlighting top-rated funds, best returns, and flashing those big green numbers everywhere you look, investors still end up failing? It's wild, right? You have literally thousands of mutual funds at your fingertips, and all the data seems to be pointing you straight toward the winners. Yet, the vast majority of investors end up completely sabotaging their own portfolios. The reason? Because most people choose mutual funds emotionally, not logically. And honestly, the mistakes they make are incredibly common. So here's our roadmap for today. We're using a Pitfalls-to-Protocols Framework covering 1. The return trap, 2. The risk blind spot, 3. Behavior and panic, 4. The SMART checklist, and finally, 5. Finding your fit. Starting off with Section 1, the return trap. This covers mistakes 1, 4, and 5. Mistake number 1 is choosing a fund purely based on its past returns. An investor sees a 40% return from last year and instantly thinks, wow, I need to get in on that. But last year's winner often becomes next year's loser. Past performance alone is a massive, massive trap. Combine that with mistake number 4, chasing top-ranked funds. Ops constantly push these to the front page, causing investors to just endlessly jump from one shiny new fund to another. To fix this, you've got to break that cycle. You need to look for long-term consistency and risk management, rather than just the shiniest object in the room. Constant switching completely destroys your compounding discipline. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights mistake number 5, completely ignoring risk. People are obsessed with returns, right? But imagine 2 different funds that both give you a 12% return. One gets there with terrifying, stomach-churning volatility, while the other gives you a much smoother, predictable journey. A 12% return means absolutely nothing if the volatility forces you to panic sell at the bottom. That's why risk-adjusted metrics are so crucial. You need to look at alpha, which is essentially the extra return you get compared to a benchmark, beta, which tells you if the fund is more or less volatile than the overall market, and the Sharpe ratio, which simply measures how much return you're actually getting for the amount of risk you're taking. Moving right along to Section 2, the risk blind spot. Here, we'll tackle mistakes 2 and 3. This brings us to mistake number 2, and I see this all the time. An investor will hold 15 to 20 different mutual funds. Let me be perfectly clear about this. Holding 20 funds is not diversification. That is just confusion. It totally dilutes your returns and makes your portfolio essentially impossible to track. For the vast majority of us, just 4 to 6 well-selected funds are plenty to build a robust, truly diversified wealth creation engine. Mistake number 3 is not understanding fund categories. You've got large cap, which is relatively stable, mid cap with moderate volatility, and small cap with high volatility. So many investors buy into a small cap fund and mentally treat it like it's going to behave like a completely safe, predictable fixed deposit. Then the market naturally drops 30% and the immediate shock sets in. Understanding the expected volatility of the exact category you're buying into totally prevents that panic. Which brings us to Section 3, Behavior and Panic. This covers mistakes 6 and 7. Mistake number 6 is investing without a goal. So many people just randomly start a systematic investment plan, or SIP, without any defined target in mind at all. This is a huge error. Whether it's retirement, a house down payment, child education, or just general wealth creation, every single investment must have a purpose. Why? Because your goal entirely dictates your fund choice. You wouldn't buy a wild, volatile small-cap fund with money you absolutely need for a house down payment next year. The timeline of the goal dictates the risk you can afford to take. And this brilliantly illustrates mistake number 7, the panic exit. It's the classic sequence of wealth destruction. Check this out. The market falls, the terrified investor completely stops their SIP, and then the fund is redeemed at the absolute lowest possible point. It is literally the worst possible timing. Yes, a market fall is incredibly uncomfortable, but you have to remember, long-term wealth is built by holding steady right through that uncomfortable volatility. Let's make this totally concrete. Consider the chaotic investor A. They chase top funds every year, they switch constantly, and they completely stop their SIPs during crashes. The result? Super weak compounding. Now, compare that to investor B, who simply chooses 4 to 6 funds properly based on their actual goals, stays totally disciplined through market drops, and only reviews their portfolio yearly. The result there? Significantly better long-term wealth. Avoiding these 7 mistakes is the literal difference between these two completely different financial lives. Section 4, the SMART checklist. Let's look at the protocols for success. This right here is your new protocol. Before selecting any fund, you need to stop and ask yourself these 5 empowering questions. 1. What is my actual goal? 2. What is my real risk capacity? 3. Is the fund's performance consistent, or is it just a one-hit wonder? 4. Does the fund category actually suit me and my timeline? And 5. Am I truly investing for the long term? If you use this logical framework, you permanently replace emotional guessing with confident, data-driven decision-making. Let's move to Section 5, Finding Your Fit, and discuss the ultimate rule. I absolutely love this. Choosing mutual funds is like choosing shoes. Don't buy because it looks good on someone else, buy what fits you. It's such a brilliant, simple analogy. Your friend's high-risk, top-ranked fund might look fantastic on them, but if it doesn't match your goals, your personal risk tolerance, and your specific financial timeline, it's just going to give you terrible financial blisters. Personalization is the absolute key to successful investing.
So the crucial point is this. Wealth is not created by somehow finding perfect funds. It's actually created by avoiding major mistakes consistently over time. Discipline matters far, far more than chasing last year's top returns. So I'll leave you with this provocative question as you evaluate your own portfolio today. Are you constantly exhausted from chasing perfection, or are you finally ready to build unshakable discipline?
This conversation is for educational purposes only. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Please consult a qualified professional before investing.